Good afternoon, evening, morning. I don't know what time you're listening to this, but welcome to Unfiltered Faith. We are super excited to have you here. My name is Pastor Don. I'm here with my wife,
Pastor Gabby.
and we are super excited to start this journey with you guys. We have a really big heart for the youth group, and we're going to get into a little bit before we start this episode why we are doing this podcast. We felt like on our daily, weekly routine that we were not reaching students enough, especially students outside of our youth group. And honestly, what we're talking a little bit about the youth camp that we just had today, which is what sparked this kicking off so quickly. But we really just felt like students today are so on fire for God, and they so badly want authentic look into what religion or relationship with Christ or organized church is like. And so we're going to get into some stuff like that. In most of our episodes, you'll see some behind the scenes stuff alongside diving deeper into each of the subjects. So I guess my first question is to my wife, Pastor Gabby, what excites you about this journey we're going to embark on Unfiltered Faith?
I think majorly I'm excited about the relationship and how we're going to be able to, I feel like, connect with students on different levels that we're not always able to connect with on a Sunday night. I am excited to see how we grow in our personalities and how we can express ourselves in Christ and be able to share that with our students.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Without further ado, I really just want to jump into this episode. I'm super excited. The youth camp, we had our Passion Camp 2026 this year. For those of you that are joining us that may not be a part of our church or our youth group, we started last summer was our first youth camp. This was our second one. We started hosting our own. We felt like youth camps in general are super expensive. We felt like when you go to the larger youth camps, your kids, we were getting complaints. They felt just like a number. There were great worship experiences, great words, great altar calls, but it wasn't very like personal. There wasn't a lot of discipleship happening at these camps. So we decided to go on this adventure of doing our own youth camp and opening it up to some smaller churches and keeping it really small and personal. And so we're going to talk about some stuff that we know now after 2 years of doing it, and some stuff that we think that we should have done better this year. But we're going to start with just some of our favorite moments, and that's pretty much the question. Babe, what was your favorite moment from youth camp?
I think my favorite moment was probably on Tuesday night, where at the end of the sermon, Pastor Allen called for it was kind of like an altar call, but it's not an altar call that I've ever seen before. He had each of the students pull out a chair and kneel in their chair. And that night, all of the students made a commitment in something in their walk with God, and not necessarily to commit their life to the Lord, because a lot of them were already in that space, but to commit to something within their walk. And whether if that be joy, whether if that be reading their Bible in a space that's continuous. Like I've heard so many different versions of what they decided to commit to, but I think that was just a really special moment because it wasn't like everybody just standing up at one time. It was over a 10-15 minutes of people in prayer just asking and seeking the Lord in what they should commit to.
Yeah, that's really good. I think my favorite moment from camp was Wednesday night. We were exhausted. We're going to get into this part a little bit later too with more detail. Our camp got rained out. A tropical storm hit the week that we went to camp, and we had to leave Wednesday night instead of Thursday morning to avoid the storm. And Wednesday night, we're sitting there. We're all exhausted. I have to lead worship. And I remember I'm singing this song. It's a newer song by Elevation Worship called Alleluia. And I remember looking at Andy before camp and I'm saying, I want to keep it in the original key. I know it's a little bit high for me, but I don't want to lose the energy. What I did not think about was it being the last day of camp, and having no voice left. And so I'm sitting there and we get to service and worship starts and I get the first Alleluia out. And after that, like, I'm pretty sure nobody sang the rest of the song. It was just claps because there was no voice coming out of my throat. I think, I think everybody that was on the worship team with me was just laughing. It was great. It was fun. But I mean, honestly, that might be one of my favorite worship moments in general, but it's also my favorite moment, um, from camp. What was the funniest thing that happened at camp?
I think I mean, you could go down a list of the funniest things that happened, but I think one of my favorite slash like most comical, well, there's two, and I don't know which one you want to talk about, and I think you know which one. So we had two different games that were just very comical and watching the students participate in. Um, and I think Dom, for one, he really enjoyed the flower one because I think he got more of a kick out of that than I did. But the we had capture the flag with an octopus, and it was
It
just
was Ultimate Frisbee, wasn't it?
oh, ultimate frisbee. Yes, yes, yes. It was ultimate frisbee with an octopus, which is hilarious because all you see is an octopus. It was a dead octopus, so don't come for us. But um all you could see was an octopus just flying through the sky, and then these kids just being so grossed out about it. It was great to
Dude,
watch.
I remember we had one we had one student. I love her so much. She was so terrified of that octopus, and she was doing everything she could to avoid it. And it was like in slow motion. It was one of those moving moments. Like the game is close. Red team is trying to come back. That's the team that the student was on. The red team was trying to come back and win, and one of their players just chunks this octopus like 30 yards. And I remember watching this octopus fly through the air, and I look on the other side of the pass, and it is this student that I'm referring to, and she got smacked in the face with a raw, dead octopus. And the horror, the scream that she let out, it was so funny. Yeah, I
She
think,
did not complete the pass, by the way. It
no, yeah, she
definitely would have hit
dropped
the
it.
ground.
Yeah, she dropped it. Unfortunately, red team did go on to lose. But yeah, I think you're right on what my favorite, the funniest part of camp for me. We played another game where, and we're actually gonna have to nix one of the questions we're gonna talk about later, which our favorite games. But we could talk about the talent show on that part.
Oh.
But we poured flour, like baking all-purpose flour, onto a playing card that was held in a student's mouth. And the students had to turn to the person behind them in line and transfer the flour to the playing card that was in that person's mouth. And it sounds not that hard until one person laughs. And as soon as one person laughs, flour goes everywhere. Everybody is laughing uncontrollably because there's just like flour all over people's faces. Um, it was really, really great. I don't think a single team did very well in that game, but I got a lot of laughs out of it, so I am happy. Um, what about this? What's something unexpected that happened during the week?
Um,
Do you want me to start with this one?
yeah, you start with this one.
So for me, this was unexpected, and this is something that we've been working on with our students in general. Is like branching out beyond your friend groups. Friend groups are great, but like we want more of a culture of discipleship in our youth group. I think we want everybody to feel like they're welcome and everybody to feel like they can go to anybody in our youth group for anything.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're really trying to like build the culture of right now. And we actually had a student walk up to us and say, "Hey, you should challenge us to sit with people that we don't normally sit with at lunch and dinner." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." So at lunch had already started at this point. So at lunch, I'm like, "Hey, everybody stand up. If you look at everybody that's at your table, you need to go sit at a table with somebody, like you can't sit at the same table with somebody that's currently at your table right now." And so they went and did it. They didn't complain at all. They went and did it. And then dinner time, I was busy trying to do background stuff. And so I was like late to dinner. By the time I got there 30 minutes late, all of the students did it without being prompted. Like they just went and found new tables. They went and made new friends. Like they were all like very intently in conversation. There wasn't a single cell phone out. It was really, really awesome and like unexpected. Um, I think we kind of put a stigma on this generation a little bit of like, oh, they're incapable of stuff like that. But it was really impressive to me and something that I think I'm the most proud of this entire week. Um, let's move on. Let's do another question. What about what what about some God moments? Let's lock in on um some God moments here because at the end of the day, God's the reason that we went to this youth camp. Um, let's talk specifically about worship. What do we think is the most impactful worship moment from camp?
I wouldn't say that there's a specific impactful worship moment. I do believe that every single worship service, every single moment that they got to just be in God's presence, they fully embraced that. They genuinely, I think the only time that they were slightly hesitant was that first night, but everything after that, it was just a full send. Um, between how students can be shy about kneeling at the altar or just but it was just fully through all of them, they were all just fully committed to their worship,
Yeah.
in both the fast songs and the slow songs, and just being able to sit in God's presence. And I don't think there's like a specific like strongest, but I do think that this year over last year they were genuinely fully committed to their worship.
Yeah. Um, for me, it's always really fun being the youth pastor and also being on the worship team. For me, my most impactful worship moment, uh, oh goodness, was it night one? I can't even remember what the last song that we did was for night one. I think it was The Wonderful Blood.
Yeah.
The Wonderful Blood. And we get to that third song, and by the third song, I think, chains were broken, walls were torn down, like the kids were face down. Um, and I remember we're playing this song, and my eyes are closed. I do have a really bad habit as a worship leader of like closing my eyes and like worshiping personally, which isn't a bad thing, I think. But like as a worship leader, sometimes you have to lead, and um, you may not get that opportunity every week. But I do think I remember opening my eyes and I did the first four faces that I saw. It was just like I was watching physically the evidence of the Lord breaking things in students. And as the pastor, I know what's being broken. I'm not going to share that on a podcast, but like I started crying for them. I'm like, dude, heck yeah, man. Uh, And the Lord continued to work that way. I don't want y'all to think that the first night was the only great night of worship. Truthfully, every night was phenomenal. Honestly, there we have a lady volunteering with us who's another pastor on staff. She will be on the podcast eventually at some point. But getting to like help disciple her, and she's texted me a lot on the side and just like hungry to learn more about leading worship and wanting to be better at leading worship and stuff. And getting to disciple her, and she led worship with us Tuesday night. I think Tuesday night was a phenomenal night of worship as well. And seeing that was probably equally as impactful. What was your favorite message and why did it stand out?
I'll be honest. Shout out to Pastor Sydney and Pastor Allen. They did an amazing job. But I think the most impactful one was night 3, at least for me. It was about consistency and being consistent in our faith, and having the ability to walk out in everything. And I feel like that really hit home for a lot of people. But specifically, I mean, I know it hit home for me. So, he just did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why we picked the passion, subject. And a lot of people, when they hear passion, they think about like, oh, I'm on fire for God. I'm on fire for God. And that feeling that you get after a youth camp or after a retreat or a conference or a worship night, right? You feel that like that physical emotion of I'm excited about God.
Yeah.
But whenever we picked passion and we were meeting with Pastor Sydney and Pastor Allen, one of the things that we were telling them was like, hey, I want my kids to have passion, but I don't want it to be the passion that we all think about when we say the word. I want it to be the consistent passion that, hey, I am waking up and I am choosing God every day, even when I don't feel like it. Even when I have, I got to get to work extra early this morning, so I'm going to wake up even earlier than that so I can read my Bible. I want consistency. And that was one of the things that we really wanted to nail home is like, hey, I'm glad that you're passionate about God. You're excited about God, but that excitement's going to go away. The enemy's going to attack. And I think you're right. I think night 3 was phenomenal. Night 1 and night 2 were amazing too in their own rights. I mean, truthfully, I spoke to all of our volunteers that came, and we had people from, I think 5 different churches come and volunteer with us at youth camp. And I spoke to all of them, and they were like, man, every single night that we heard was an absolute word from the Lord, both for the adults in the room and the students. So Pastor Sydney, Pastor Allen, if y'all are hearing this, we appreciate y'all so much. Pastor Sydney is the lead pastor over at Celebration Church campus in Slidell, Louisiana. Pastor Allen is the lead pastor at Home Church NOLA. He's planting that. And man, they are 2 phenomenal men of God, and I'm so glad that God put them in our lives. Uh, let's talk about the students a little bit. How did you see students grow throughout camp?
I think the biggest one of the biggest things that I saw growth wise in our students was in their relationships with each other.
Yeah.
Like yes, with their relationship with the Lord, but I I feel like they deepened their relationships with each other in a godly way.
Yeah.
Not just like a, oh, what's your favorite color? But like, hey, what are you walking through? Like, how can I walk with you through, hold your burdens and be there for you? I think overall, because we had a lot of like new students that came with us to camps, incoming 6th graders, all the things. Like, there wasn't one student that was alone. And I think that's something that as a youth pastor, I'm so grateful for, and our students that they took that opportunity to really just connect with each other.
Yeah. It was really, really great. I'd agree with that. I mean, I think I saw a lot of like leadership growth in certain students too.
Yeah.
I think of a student who has a lot of leadership capabilities. And I'll be honest, when we picked some of these teams, this student is already going to know that I'm talking about him just by me. So if you hear this, bro, love you. It's really hard to balance teams when you have somebody who's like very, very athletically gifted. Um, and I was sitting there trying to balance his team, and day 1, he called it out, and I'm like, hey, like, stop it. You're going to be okay. Right. And I remember the last day we did this Ironman Amazing Race Challenge. And he like physically put one of his team members on his back and carried them to the next station so that his team could compete better. And like that's an aspect of leadership that like self-sacrifice you don't see a lot in teenagers. Yeah. And that's just one example. There's multiple others, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to give that one. How about I want to hit this question. Why do you think camp environments are effective for growth?
I think because it removes them. It removes them from
Themselves.
It removes them from distractions. It removes them from unhealthy friend groups. It removes them from so many different things and just gives them the place to be present.
Yeah.
I think it's so important. Like, people ask, like, oh, is youth camp really, needed? Yes, 100%. We have so much happening in our lives, and that this can be a whole other podcast because we talk about it so often, is busyness.
Oh,
but
I hate it.
Within the summer, there's so much happening. I mean, there's so much happening in the church between VBS, between serving, between outreaches, but then you just have like family vacation, different things that you do during the summer. So being able to really just take time and spend 3-4 days in God's presence and without distractions and being able to take the things that we're struggling with to God and really actually have the opportunity to work through them instead of just being like, okay, God, this is what I'm dealing with. This is how I'm struggling. You fix that. I'm going to go back to work kind of situation. But it really gives them an opportunity to just sit there and allow God to answer and to learn how to let God answer.
Yeah.
Instead of just trying to rush through their prayers, it gives them an opportunity to really experience God's presence and understand how to hear him in all ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with everything. I mean, it's not intentional that we, pick it for this reason, but it was really funny that like cell service was so terrible and the Wi-Fi that they had dropped every 5 minutes. And the kids, yeah, the kids learned really quickly, like being on our phone just is not an option. And it was really, really great. I do want to skip to some like behind the scenes bloopers, maybe. Um, just some stuff that kids don't normally see, the parts of camp that people don't talk about. I want to be open about it, right? Because I want you guys to know what goes into this. I want you guys to know what it takes, and I want other pastors that hear this, like when this stuff happens to them, right? It's normal, it's okay. I'm going to talk about the first behind the scene moment that I honestly was probably my favorite moment. Take my pastor title away, but like my favorite moment of camp.
Okay.
I remember, I think it was Tuesday, second day of camp. We are exhausted already. And we go to free time. And I remember I get a text from my wife saying, come to my room right now. And I'm like, am I in trouble? Like, what is happening? I was concerned that something was wrong. I get to my wife's room and she opens the door. She's like, I just need a hug. And I give her a hug. Like, the stress that goes on us during the week is incredible. And I promise that we have all of the students' best interests in mind. And it does take a toll. Like it is exhausting. And it was just very, very like heartwarming as a husband, to have my wife, like even when we're in the midst of like the highest stress environment that we put ourselves in all year long, that she was like, I just need a hug from my mans. It was, I love it so much. What about you? What was something that you want to talk about that people don't get to see behind the scenes?
This is an interesting question because I do probably 80% of the planning overall, like the background details of camp. That is my role. That is how I contribute to this ministry. I contribute in other ways, but that is my gifting. And I had a schedule, I had a plan, and asked me if we did anything on that schedule in the order that
not a single thing.
Outside of making sure that they ate at the times that they were supposed to eat and that we had service at the times that we were supposed to have service. Every single thing.
We changed dinner time too. Though,
yeah, so we did change dinner time the last night. So it's just kind of like, it's, I think going into it with a plan, but also fully expecting for everything to change. And if you know me, you've talked to me, I like my plans and I like my plans to continue in the way that I planned them. And it is definitely a God moment whenever I have to step back and allow God to just remove that control, and for him to just take it where it needs to go. But I can't remember
anything going wrong behind the scenes.
No, for how much everything had to shift, everything still went so well.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from just surrendering, because like me and Jenny, Pastor Jenny, went into it with the understanding that this could change. And and just being able to surrender that even before we stepped into it was a blessing.
I mean, dude, like, guys, getting a call at 10 a.m. that by noon we had to send an email out to parents to let them know that we were coming home at 11 p.m. that night instead of noon the following day. There's a lot of faith in that. A lot of faith that people are going to check their emails. A lot of faith that they're going to be awake whenever we leave in case they didn't check their emails, for kids to call them and let them know. It was honestly a crazy, crazy week. Like everything that probably could have gone wrong went wrong, and I think we did pivot like really, really well. Let's talk about like some lessons. What are some things that we think we learned about hosting the camp that we're going to fix for next year? For me, it's location, location, location.
Yes.
Um,
Agreed.
I am very, very grateful. Very, very grateful to the camp that allowed us to be there. Very, very grateful for the space that we had. And it honestly, like, God moved regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking about like the free time, the games that we had, all that stuff, we could have done a better job planning earlier. And don't worry, we've already resolved this. This will be announced on Sunday night that we already have camp planned out. Registration will open soon.
Not planned out.
No, it's planned enough for me, baby. We got stuff booked. We got no. We learned our lesson for real this year. To make sure that we can get the place that we need. To effectively make sure these students. My cat is outside of the door screaming. I don't know if you can hear him. But that was my lesson was location, location, location. What about you?
Definitely a location. I think also just doing things earlier. Like overall, like overrunning the registration earlier, setting up, and this is more like that behind the scenes stuff, like the things that I think about, but definitely just doing things sooner, rather than later, and being able to provide the best experience for our families and our students, in all aspects, the week of camp and everything that happens beforehand. So,
Okay, let's do like 2 more questions and then we'll get into our rapid fire questions and wrap it up. Question number 1, let's go. What advice would you give students coming off of such a spiritually impactful week? Or, how can students continue growing now that it's over? Either of those 2 questions.
for the first one,
Yeah.
I would say, one of our students, I think, phrased it perfectly. She said, "Never forget that you are a powerhouse. Like, you are a force to be reckoned with. And that doesn't just leave
Yeah.
because you left camp.
Yeah.
Like, that follows you. Like, so don't allow the mind frame of camp to dissipate after you leave. Like, that is the same, like, the person that God created, the chains that were broken, the barriers that were torn down, like, that is the same person that is going into church on Sunday morning whenever we get back. Like, and everything after that, when you go in your job, whenever you go into your other friend groups, like, that is who God has called you to be. That doesn't just go away because you left a campground. Like, that God goes with us. And I think within that is just being able to have a healthy understanding of how you can keep that going. So being in your word, being in prayer, and actually being intentional about it, not just doing it to check it off of a list.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to answer the next question. How can parents help keep that momentum going? Parents, we are very, very supportive of you guys. Hopefully we made that aware when we did our student parent night, at the end of the year. The biggest advice that I can give parents, man, is 1, trust your kiddos. If you don't, I get to see a lot of parts of your students that you may not get to at home. Maybe you do. Maybe I am seeing a little bit of an authentic them, but I am aware of a couple of students that have been going to coffee, like Bible studies with other people that went to the camp. And it's funny because it's like 5 seniors and an 8th grader, but like the 8th graders as hungry as the seniors are. 2 8th graders. Well, no, it's an 8th grader and a freshman.
Oh yeah.
But like they I promise they're not just trying to go behind your back and date. Like, seriously. Our students, at least at NBCY, are very, very hungry. Allow them the space to make mistakes. That doesn't mean take your hands completely off the reins. We still parent, we still correct, we still discipline and disciple our students. But they have to have the space. They have to have enough trust from you that they can, 1, go to, Starbucks, the Reminding, whatever we have around here, study the word together, spend time in fellowship. but two, they have to be able to make a mistake. They are not perfect. My wife is raising her hand like she's in class. She's like, no, wait, my turn. I want to say something. She's going to be like, no, I'm never letting my child make a mistake.
Yeah. Oh, no. I think that's great advice. I think the other thing is be curious. Ask them. Like, ask them what they're learning in their word. Like, ask them what they're experiencing in their walk with God. Because I feel like that's something that growing up, I didn't get asked very often. But I would have loved to share it with my parents.
Yeah.
And I think going into it without the expectation to fix whatever it is that they're struggling with is really important. Like, just go into it to be able to grow in that relationship. Oh, I've started something. Now he's raising his hand. But going into it with that question of like, hey, how are things going in your walk? How are things going? Like, are you struggling with anything? Like, I think just having that openness and as a parent to be able to ask their kids in genuine curiosity rather than in the way to discipline or to fix something.
Yeah, and the other half of that too, right, is go into it without the expectation of you're going to teach them something spiritually about what they're currently walking through.
Yes.
Just listen. 1 Timothy 4:12, right? Paul tells Timothy, he's like, hey, don't let believers look down on you because you're young. And I teach all of our students that so much. Dude, you don't know what this student is. I've had students come and say something to me that I learned something from it. So parents, ask questions with the intention to listen and learn, not with the intention to correct and teach.
Yeah.
And give them the space. It is incredible the spiritual growth that, and spiritual connection that you'll begin to have with your students and your kids whenever you ask that. Let's get into some more fun rapid fire questions.
I'm not good at this, so
yeah, she's gonna have to answer quickly. I promise she's going to tongue twist herself a little bit, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be funny. First rapid fire question, favorite meal?
Gumbo. I got that one.
Okay. My favorite meal was probably the cornbread. I hate beans. I hate beans, but they had cornbread that night and the cornbread was very good. What was your favorite game?
Favorite game? I think the one that I made up that was completely from scratch. Could we make it better? Yes. But it was like a pool noodle cup / it was like 3 games.
The pool noodle cup hula hoop game.
Yes.
It was like Hungry Hippo almost. It was really fun.
It was a lot of fun.
My favorite game was probably the Amazing Race that we did, specifically the station where they had to eat an entire jar of peanut butter, 6 cosmic brownies, half of a jar of cheese balls, and a 2-liter of Sprite. It was incredible. Favorite worship night?
Tuesday.
I agree. I think Tuesday is the best.
Tuesday was the best, yeah.
Funniest camp moment?
Oh.
We're not being very rapid fire.
You go first. Then you go first.
Funniest camp moment, I think, was they were doing the No Talent show that we do at the end of every camp. It's really fun. The kids love it. We have this one student who's really goofy. Last year he did the stanky leg. This year he did the like lizard thing. If you don't know it, just look up lizard on TikTok. It'll show up. What about you?
I think the funniest moment was on Tuesday when we had our rainy day. All of our outside games kind of got washed out, but we had 1 hour where it was clear. And after that, it started pouring rain, and all of the kids were just like mudsliding through the mud. And it was just funny to watch, like the girly girls like get covered head to toe in mud, and it was great.
Who was the most competitive team? Not the team that won, the most competitive team. I actually forgot the one. Was Red?
It was Red. Red
okay,
won.
we do have to figure that out. Who was the most competitive team?
I think Purple was the most competitive.
I disagree.
I
think Purple had the most competitive individual.
Yes.
I think Green as a whole was the most competitive.
I was going to say Green. Green was, yeah.
Green impressed me. Green got second place.
I mean, Green and Red.
Green ended up with second place in total, and I was rooting for them the whole time. Sorry about that purple, blue, and red, but I loved the green team, and purple's my favorite color too. Biggest surprise of the week for me, I never checked the weather, was the freaking rain. That was my surprise. I was like, wait, there's a tropical storm? Since when?
It was only a surprise to him because I knew about it.
I did not watch the weather.
What was the question?
What's the biggest surprise of the week?
The biggest surprise.
Or the one student singing.
Oh yeah. I think there was a lot of surprises in the aspect of like just watching kids like step out of them, like out of their comfort zones. Of like, whoa, I didn't expect that to happen. Like the last night we had testimonies and just watching them step out and like being surprised by some of the kids that like you can't get them to talk in a group setting. So they definitely not going to get up on a stage and talk. And that was some of those students that walked up there were surprising, but also is so rewarding.
Yeah. All right. Last rapid fire question. Give me one word that describes camp this week that is not passion.
The beginning of something.
That's not one word.
Beginning.
And it's funny because that's actually going to be our next thing that I talk about. For me, it was, oh Lord, because that's technically two words, but there's a hyphen in the middle, so it's not. Heart-changing.
Okay.
Heart-changing. We're not going to expound on it. That was rapid fire questions. If you want to ask us questions, you can come see us on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. at 31 Park Place Drive, Covington. It's the New Beginnings Connection Complex. Come visit us for a service. We have food, we have games, small group times, word worship. It's awesome. But look, camp is not the finish line. It's a launching point. It's like Gabby said, it's the beginning. Don't think of camp as the pinnacle of your walk with faith. Don't think of camp as like, oh, these are the best times of my life. They may be very fun, but like that is where everything starts for the next few months until we get to retreat, right? And if you start looking at camp and retreats as the starting point and you are racing to the next one, your entire walk is going to change. Our prayer for you guys has been that what God started at camp, he will continue through you. So I know that it's been a week and a half at this point, a week at this point. Don't let the fire dimming or the emotion going away take away from what God did. Remember, we talked about consistency. Yeah. Emotions come and go. Commitment stays. Mm-hmm. So what are you committing to? I'm going to pray real quick to close this out. And then we'll be done with episode 1, the inaugural episode of Unfiltered Faith. God, thank you so much for today, God. Thank you for the conversation that we got to have today. Thank you for always showing up in our preparation. Thank you for not being just a spontaneous God that shows up because worship goes an hour and a half long, but being there because of the time and preparation that we put into it, God. God, thank you for this youth group that you've blessed us with. Thank you for this platform that you've blessed us with, for the influence. I pray that you continue to use us however you will. Bless everybody, God, that has listened to this podcast. Hopefully they grasp something from it. And it's in your name we pray. Amen. Well, thank you very much for listening to Unfiltered Faith. And we will see you next Sunday night at youth, hopefully. Bye.
Bye.